So what is good and what is bad about working for a corporate practice? What worked, what didn't work?
So they have nice benefits, they have nice retirement, they put towards your retirement. As an owner, my own retirement was like, okay, I'm going to try to just stash a little bit of money and...
I am Dr. Bonnie Bragdon. I'm your host today of the Veterinary Insider. It's the podcast for veterinarians and others who want to keep the veterinary profession independent, veterinarian-owned, real, genuine, and authentic. The Veterinary Insider is brought to you by IVPA, the Independent Veterinary Practitioners Association. Check us out at iveterinarians.org. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to guarantee if you buy a membership and you don't pay for it with your benefits in the first year, we'll refund your money. So check us out at iveterinarians.org. I'm excited today. We have Dr. Lee Pope with us. And so Dr. Pope is another veterinarian who has taken the plunge, built a practice, sold it, and is now transitioning into the next phase of his career. So Dr. Pope, let's start at the beginning. What inspired you to become a veterinarian?
So just kind of like most people, I grew up loving animals. I'd go to my grandmother's house and she always had dogs, and just I gravitated towards the dogs. I was more excited to see the dogs than some of the family members sometimes. So excited to see them. And then talking to my parents about what I want to be when I grow up, mentioned that. And they're like, okay, well, there's our regular vet. Why don't you ask our regular vet? So started out as a kennel kid at our regular vet. And then after a little bit, hey, I want to do more. Emergency clinic just opened up down the street. Interviewed there. Ended up getting a position there when I was 15. And then I was there all the way through vet school. So once I did emergency medicine, that's when you really got to see the medicine and see the puzzles and the vets trying to figure it out and trying to help these patients and stuff. And then it's working with other vets. One of the vets I worked with, I stole what he told me for my admission letter. It's not solely because I love animals. It's the human-animal bond. I love animals to death, but seeing the way people care for their animals and being a part of that. Hey, let me help you keep Fluffy healthy, and how the owners are so much happier about that. And just seeing all that is what made me decide that that's definitely what I wanted to pursue.
So just in case we have any clients or anybody from the public who's not a veterinarian and they want to understand more what it means to go to vet school and become a veterinarian, what's the most important characteristic of a future veterinarian? What does a veterinarian need to be like? What would you tell somebody who's considering becoming a veterinarian?
Ooh. So hard, lots of hard work and lots of compassion, and you have to be a strong soul, in my opinion, to be a vet. It's very hard work. You got to be smart. You got to be diligent in your academics, but then you have to translate that to people that didn't go to vet school. So you have to be able to connect with people. You have to be able to understand, like, you can't just go to a client and say, hey, this is everything we need to do to fix Fluffy. You need to do it. Maybe they can't do it, or maybe they don't understand why you need to do that. You need to be able to explain it to them, and you need the fortitude to be able to handle maybe the saddest situation of your life, to have to euthanize this dog that the owners will do everything they can, but you just sometimes can't fix them. And then you got to walk next door to the 6-week-old puppy, and it's their first pet, and it's their happiest day ever because it's their first pet. But the other people, you were just really sad. So you've got to be able to balance that out with all the hard work, and you need to start. Plenty of people go through vet school later in life, but in my opinion, you start early. That's what I did. Okay, what's the soonest you can be working at a clinic to see if you really want to pursue this? Because this isn't a 2-year plan. This is a 8, 10, 12-year plan to end up making it through vet school.
So a veterinarian has to treat all species, right? Humans to a certain extent. Now I'm teasing a little bit. It's not like we actually take care of human health, but we are a really important part of that mental health aspect. And I always tease I need to go back to practice because all my stories are getting a little outdated of all the human craziness that I've had to deal with, as well as the animal craziness. So, Dr. Lee, what I'm excited to talk to you about today is that you started a practice, or you bought a practice. Tell me what it how you came to be a practice owner.
So I came out of school, worked 2 years at a clinic, and I knew I always wanted to own from the beginning. So worked 2 years at the clinic, and then once it got to where, hey guys, how about we do this? How about we do this? No, we're good. That's okay. I like to take control of things. And as an associate, depending on where you are, you can't really take control. You have to convince everybody else. And if they're not convinced, then you got to go on your own. So 2 years, started looking for a clinic, bought an existing clinic that was for sale, and then started there. The first few years were rough. It maybe wasn't what it was sold out to me to be. And so it took some time to rebrand it kind of and rebuild it. And then just kind of went from there.
So for our listeners, our veterinary listeners who are considering buying or starting a practice, and what would you tell them? How do they prepare for buying a practice? What questions do they need to ask? What do you wish you'd done differently in that purchase process?
So it all depends, in my opinion, what you want to do. Do you want to buy existing, or do you want to do a startup? Existing is nice because you're guaranteed to make money that first day, maybe not as much as you thought, but you have clients that very first day. Startup, you're starting from scratch. You have no clients day one. So what's your plan to start bringing people in? So for me, my experience, so an existing clinic, what can you do to try to figure out the culture of that clinic, which is tough because most clinics don't want the staff to know that they're selling. So is there a way you can have a friend, hey, why don't you go by the clinic and kind of feel it out for me and get a vibe, call the clinic, see how the staff is, what am I walking into? How much of a change am I going to have to make? Or, and this culture is amazing. The receptionists were great. They were helpful. I went into the clinic. It was clean. It was taken care of. It didn't smell like dog and cat. Or, we went in there and it wasn't the best. Does that open your eyes a little bit more? Now, I'm the type of person that I'm so eager to do something anyway. Even if I'd have known certain things, would I have done something different? Knowing myself, probably not. And I would know it doesn't matter. I can fix it. I'll be able to take care of it. So what really doing your due diligence in that clinic to see about what kind of culture are you going into? What do you think you're going to have to change? And then change is not easy. And you get a lot of pushback from a lot of clients about certain things. So just being ready to deal with that pushback from staff. Maybe the staff's previous manager was lazy and didn't really get onto them for being late, but you want them to be on time. So how is that going to go over with the staff?
So, Dr. Pope, tell me your first time of maybe terminating an employee or having to reprimand an employee. Tell me what was that like? You don't have to necessarily share the specifics, but was it hard? How did you handle that? How did you prepare for that?
Actually, was she the first? So when I took over, there were three employees, and one of them she was chronically late. And this will maybe scare some people, but documented it, warned her, you're late, you need to fix it. she lived in Atlanta, and we were about a 45-minute drive for her. That's not my problem. I mean, as a business owner, that sounds really harsh, but the reality is you know where we're located, you know where you live. You need to be able to compensate for that. You need to be able to adapt to that and get here on time. So chronically late, chronically late, chronically late. Fired her for being late. Then, of course, everybody's fear, unemployment. So then she files for unemployment. Well, when I fired her, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, was working for another company, missed vet med. Hey, I let this girl go. Can you come to the clinic and help me out? So she comes on. The girl that I let go, her dad is an employment lawyer. So she files unemployment. I send the form back in, gets denied. Then I get another letter that there's going to be a hearing about the termination. So then it's a three-way between me, him and his daughter, and the unemployment officer. And it was just stress through the roof trying to deal with that. Because anytime, like, I feel most vets are pretty type A personality. Like, most of us are pretty black and white, and we're always scared of getting in trouble, kind of thing. Then you mention lawyer, and we're all like, what? No, okay. I don't know the law and stuff like that. I don't know the code book or whatever. Just okay. I did what I thought was my due diligence. So it went back and forth, and it, like, to end the story, the last question he asked before the mediator cut it off, said, okay, well, you terminated her for being late. And I was like, yeah. He's like, who did you hire after she was terminated? Because he knew it was my girlfriend, so he was going to try to play the angle, you fired her to hire your girlfriend. And as soon as he mentioned that, the mediator's like, okay, this meeting's over. We thank you for your time, and then just hung up on us both. So that was an absolute
stressful, but you survived.
You did, and
you learned, you survived.
So many stories, just people that they just walk out, or they just no-show. One guy walked out in the middle of the day, just left a note or something, or texted the manager. He just didn't come back for lunch. We're like, where is he? Oh, and he texts the manager. Dr. Pope doesn't trust me anymore, so I just can't come back. And it's all over.
Yeah. And so, something that maybe you started off finding difficult becomes easier to manage. It just becomes almost routine. And so just knowing that you've got the resources that you need. So for our listeners out there who are maybe considering becoming an owner, what can they do to prepare? Because I feel like oftentimes veterinarians aren't comfortable with conflict. I think when I started, I was probably more comfortable with a dog trying to bite me than a person yelling at me. So how do we as veterinarians become more comfortable with conflict? Because it's just a part of life.
So the conflict for me, if you can get your mindset, this is a business. And it's not that, like, one of my employees always teased me about being Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, just money, 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 money when he's trying to run his business or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, so it's a business. And if you can just focus on, this is what we need to do to make the team run more efficiently, make the clinic run more efficiently, and complete our mission goal. Mine was just basically, let's take care of the clients as we would want to be taken care of. Let's keep the clinic as orderly as possible as I would want to see a clinic coming in. And so if there's that conflict, hey, James isn't getting along with Sarah. All right, guys, look, we either need to figure this out, or somebody's going to have to go. Or, look, Sarah, I know you're really cool and I like working with you, but you're always late. And when you're late, that drags down the rest of the team. So we need to get this fixed. Here's the warning. We need to get this fixed. This is just part of it. Because the other trouble with vets, like you said, I feel like we all avoid conflict because we want everybody to love us. We want everybody, oh, he's the best vet. We want them to, when the staff calls with their pet, they want to see Dr. Pope because, man, he's the best. But, man, if I'm mean to her, if I get on to her for being late, maybe she's not going to like me as much as she used to or something. So having to realizing that, okay, this is a business. You need to set that aside. We need to get this under control. Because for me, like, the business came first. Don't make us look stupid and take care of the clients, and the rest, everything else comes. For me, you have a good, fun environment when everybody works, everybody does their job. It's not one person sitting there watching everybody else work, because then those people start not working because they see Joe being lazy over there. So to get over the issue of conflict, just I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my business healthy and running. And this is how I feel how it should be run.
So how long did it take before you felt like you had everything under control? So you went into this business, you bought this practice. I hear you. Different technicians, different employees, different bosses. It all defines how our culture is and how we get along and how things are run. So how long did it take you until you felt like the practice was truly running the way you wanted it to run?
I mean, I would say probably a couple years, maybe a year or two. About a year or two until it was kind of words getting out, cultures changing. Even when, so we would love to think that the majority of our clients come in every 12 months. So, okay, it's going to take 12 months for me to get the word out, but there's a lot of time. I mean, if you're running an active client list, 18 months, maybe 24 months still, but after 24, no question. So it's going to take 18 to 24 months for you to see all the existing clients. And then whittling through that transition to, okay, well, this is how we do things now, and this is what we recommend now, and this is what we're pushing now. So I would say if you go into it, it's 18 to 24 months until it's kind of, now it's known that it's your clinic. You really shouldn't have somebody coming in, I didn't know you bought it. Well, yeah, Miss Jones, you haven't been in 4 years, so a lot changes.
Yeah, that might be me. I realized the other day my cats are 4 years or 4 years out from vaccines, so I'm a little overdue. I know.
I'm the worst pet owner. Vets are just, the cobbler's kids don't have shoes, right?
I know. So you built your practice, you got comfortable with it, you changed the culture, you put a lot of effort into it, and then what I understand you then decided to exit. What happened? Tell me how that worked out. You decided that it was time maybe to sell, do something different. Tell me about that part of the journey.
So we used to be closed Wednesdays. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Closed Wednesday for me to get a break. Business was growing enough that I needed to look into finding somebody else. So in order to see if we could hold the business, open up on Wednesdays. So then start doing 6 days a week. For me, it was nice business wise, because when we opened Wednesday, I was afraid it was going to be crickets and nobody's coming in. We opened Wednesday and you would have never thought we were closed on Wednesday. It filled up right away, busy. So we're doing that and it's growing. And then we start looking into, okay, what about hiring somebody? And then I got personally just very disheartened hearing, oh, well, if you go to the vet school, you need to talk to the sophomores because the seniors and the juniors, they're all bought up. When I graduated many moons ago, there were kids walking across the stage that, everybody said, okay, hey, Lee Pope, X clinic, Joe Smith, X clinic, Tim, Jefferson, Georgia, just where they're going to live because they didn't have a job. But now vets, like, they're getting snatched up early. So I can't compete with that. I don't have time to go to a job fair. I don't have the resources to give somebody a big sign-on bonus. So I was having trouble finding somebody else as far as an associate. Then the other component, which is everybody's going to say, well, yeah, we would know that, working with family. So my wife turned into my manager, which was great because I knew somebody else had skin in the game. Somebody else would take care of that client like I would, beyond the shadow of a doubt. But then when you come home, you can't just talk about work. Hey, Sally made me mad today. Oh, yeah, sucks for you. When it's Sally made me mad, it's, we got to retrain her. Why didn't we train her well enough? Okay, what can we do to fix it? So you can't really turn off your work brain and just have a conversation. Hey, she's just venting about work. Not a big deal. It was always, well, what can we do to fix it? So just getting burnt out with that. Employee wise, it's really tough in vet med because vets don't get paid what we should, but that also trickles down to our technicians don't get paid what we should. So I wasn't able to offer insurance or anything like that and retirement plans or anything. So then it starts wearing on you that, okay, well, I, I, I'm not really at a place to be able to offer this stuff. So we start losing employees, or when we're trying to hire people, we get the people, why do you want to work here? Oh, I love dogs and cats. What's your experience? I have 2 dogs at home. This isn't it. And then we hire people and they're there for a couple weeks and yeah, this just isn't for me, or I'm just not cut out for this. And so it's the HR aspect of it was a big deterrent for me. So it was just, I was tired and looking for support, and the hope was, okay, well, if we find a corporation to buy us or merge with, then I'll get that support. But it's difficult as an independent practitioner when you just don't have as deep of pockets to attract certain people or retain, or I didn't have that HR department I could call and say, hey, Jim's doing this. What am I allowed to do about that kind of thing? So just looking for more of that support.
And if you want more info, you need some resources, check us out at iveterinarians.org. We have a few podcasts in our library from experts, and we've got a few resources and benefits that could help with some of these things. So Dr. Pope, HR for everybody. And IVPA also has some externships and internships that and a student program to help promote independent practice employment with students. What are you hearing about students and their experience with corporate practice? Have you been engaged with that? Tell me more about that.
So one of my business guys I worked with, what really scared me was one of my business guys I worked with, he had a vet student come to him going into his senior year. Well, January of his senior year. So he's going to graduate in July. January of his senior year, he was getting a paycheck from the corporation that he was going to start working for before he even had a license, before he even graduated. So they had him on the hook for, hey, your signing bonus, we'll start funneling that money to you now before you even graduate. So they have, to try to combat these recruiters, the corporation that I sold to, our associate was found on social media. She said she just put out a thing on, hey, anybody know about a job in Georgia? And then boom, got hit. And there's this recruiter, hey, we're looking in this area. What do you think? And just, I don't have time for that. Our Facebook page is just random pictures of our clinic cat to get people to like and get traction at our clinic page and stuff. So these corporations with their headhunters and stuff, I mean, they're going and picking up these students pretty quick. And then, this is kind of on a side note, but it seems more, I don't really know that I hear people coming from corporations that, I had excellent mentorship. This doctor was great. I had a great learning experience. I made some money and I got a sign-on bonus and I got some experience, and then I I went somewhere else kind of thing. So it almost seems like they're able to attract the people that just, not that they're ignorant, but they just don't know any better. Okay. And that money, when you're coming out with all that debt, I mean, that's pretty attractive. So I feel like, private practice, hey, it's, that's a little bit more mentorship, a little bit more, hey, this is, let's focus on this as far as bringing in this drug. Like, hey, I want this new drug. Okay, well, let's talk about how we could sell it, if it's worth it or something like that. So you get more mentorship maybe on the independent side.
Yeah, so if we have any associate veterinarians out there, maybe don't want to own, but want to stay as an employee, check out working for an independent practice, because like Dr. Pope said, you may have more influence, you may have more autonomy, you've got that one-on-one relationship with the owner. You've got a little bit more influence to get things done. So I'm wondering too, as a profession, that we have a lot of these new graduates who go into, I think of it this way, they get trained up by corporate and then mid-career, maybe not so happy. And that's when independents can really come in and have that conversation. And so I'm wondering almost if independent practices really should be looking to attract that mid-career veterinarian who's left corporate practice. So help me understand, Dr. Pope. You ended up selling your practice to a corporate national practice, and you practiced as a corporate veterinarian. So what is good and what is bad about working for a corporate practice? What worked, what didn't work?
Man, so the so you have nice benefits. So they have nice benefits. They have nice retirement. They put towards your retirement. As an owner, my own retirement was like, okay, I'm going to try to just stash a little bit of money and hope I have some enough at some point. So benefits, so health, retirement, HR department. Okay, there's this department specifically for that. So that works. I didn't have that. That was nice to be able to have that insurance and benefit backing. What didn't work was anytime you talk to corporate, like anybody about corporate, okay, I had to send an email and then I had to wait. And then maybe it got back to me, maybe it didn't. Maybe I had to send another email. So, hey, I had this issue today. Here's this email. And then, okay, gotta wait at least a day or two. Maybe hear something. If you don't, I'll send another email, see if you hear something. And then, oh, okay, well, that's so-and-so's department. Let me loop them in on this email. So you gotta talk to this person, to that person, to that person. I need this figured out. Like, you go from, hey, Miss Smith is upset about this. Okay, this is what we're going to do to fix it, to, well, hang on, Miss Smith. I got to reach out to my manager. Then she's got to reach out to her manager and then check with her boss. And then we'll get back to you. So you got to give us a couple weeks maybe to get this issue figured out. So it's very much, you have to, it takes a long time to get stuff done. And if it's hey, we need help with this. Help us figure this out. Oh, I have a lot of clinics under my belt. I may not, it's going to be tough for me to get over and help you. We signed on for this for support, but to hear that, well, there's a lot of other clinics I manage, and I might not be able to get to you. Okay, I guess we'll try to figure it out. And a lot of times you're kind of in limbo as the owner. Like, I have the ultimate authority. If I want you gone, you're gone. If I want you to do X, you're going to do X. When you move over to corporate, there's a lot of, I don't know, do I really have the authority to tell them to do that? Is that okay for me to tell them to do? If they give me pushback, can I reprimand them or write them up for that? Or do I have to wait and get some approval from somebody else? So there's a lot of gray zone areas that you're not really sure um what to do.
So if we rewound the clock and you were looking to sell again, how would you approach it differently? What would you do that might be different if you were looking to sell?
The trouble was with me being a one doctor, nobody wants to buy a one doctor. So that's where I struggled the most. I honestly The sad thing is I honestly know that I don't think I would do really anything different, because the sad reality is with corporate's money, I'm in a better spot now than I was a couple of years ago. So, and that's just a reality of selling the business. If it's a private owner or a private buyer from a bank, they're not going to be able to get quite as much as we can get from corporate. So the only thing that I would go into it knowing probably is not so optimistic about who's buying me. Hey, I'm going to be part of a team. This is great. We're going to be, these people really want to make a difference and are really focusing on culture and stuff like that. I wouldn't go into it with such rose-colored glasses, and I would have more stuff written up that I truly wanted to happen, because you have two departments that you're dealing with, right? So you have the salesman that's all fancy. Hey, look at this awesome product. Then you have the lawyer that it's their job to protect the corporation, not you. So yes, you have your own lawyer to look through stuff, but you need to know what you're truly willing to give up. If you really want, hey, I want to guarantee that my staff will stay on for X amount of time, they have got to write that down, because the first thing they did to us after they increased everybody's wages, 2 months, 2 months after they purchased me, they told us we had to lay somebody off. 2 months. And then they tried to say, well, it's because your revenue's down significantly, or your revenue is down. And so I'm pulling up numbers. I'm like, it doesn't look down to me. Oh, huh? What? Send me those numbers. So, I mean, there were some words and I had to walk away at one point, but if the person selling you says, hey, we're going to do X on day one, I want you to write it down. I don't care. Need it in the contract. Well, the lawyer may not want that. Well, then I guess it's not happening. But you also have to be willing to walk away. And I was so tired that it was, okay, let me just have faith in these people and trust that it's going to work. But if it's something where you're like, I don't know, plus or minus, I could stay if I had to, but it would be nice to sell, then I would, everything you want. Don't be afraid to be a jerk, because at the end of the day, the lawyer is looking out for that corporation. They're going to be a jerk. You need to look out for yourself. And hey, I want the staff, I want this, I want that, practice, the medicine that I want or whatever, the distributor that I want to use because I've been with them for 20 years. It's got to be written down, because they even have a clause that whatever was discussed prior to this and is not written down is negated. It does not matter what was discussed. There's a clause tucked into that contract, again, to protect themselves instead of saying, hey, that one guy said we'd do this. Well, it doesn't matter because this clause negates that.
So what I'm hearing you say, Dr. Pope, is no matter what, do your homework, ask lots of questions, make sure you have an attorney review everything. And unfortunately, it's not in the contract. It's voluntary, and you may or may not get what you asked for. So make sure it's in that contract, and make sure even having. I know there's some special lawyers who specialize in veterinary contracts and veterinary purchases. So make sure you do your due diligence and you work hard. Did you work with a broker to sell your practice, or did you work directly with the corporation?
So I worked through one of my reps. So one of the things that I was big on as an owner was keeping my reps very, very close. The reps were amazing. They're at so many clinics. They know, as soon as I see the rep, hey, is everybody else slow? We're really slow today. Oh, yeah, everybody's slow. Oh, thank goodness. So they're really good about keeping an eye out for stuff. So one of the reps I was really close with, I said, man, I'm looking to sell, keep your ear out. And then he reached out and said, hey, this corporation we work with, why don't you give them a call? So I called them and set it up, basically. So I did not work with a broker. I didn't deal with one. I've not necessarily heard the best things about them per se, but I was fortunate enough that this was kind of all done on my own.
Yeah, so it cost you less money. You didn't work with a broker, but just making sure, again, talking, networking, finding your experts and your advisors in advance, making sure you have a plan. So for those veterinarians who are serving out their sentence, so to speak, in a corporate practice, what advice would you give them for how to survive their time with corporate?
It gets sad, but it gets down to just you do your job. I mean, that's a lot of times that's either why you sold if you're the owner or if you're the associate. That's the joy being the associate is you go, you do your job and you go home and you do the best you can with what you have. And that was what was so frustrating with me is I felt like we could be so much better than we are. And it's a hard pill for me to swallow to say, well, this is just as good as it gets. That's why I ended up leaving. But for everybody else, it's just you do the best you can with what you have and email, document. So that's what's so great about emails. Send an email so that way it's on record that you sent your manager an email that this issue is going on or whatever. But just treat the clients as best you can and take care of the pets as best you can with what you have.
So overall, best experience for you in terms of your financial stability. It was worthwhile in starting a practice and now selling it. You did your time. You're ready to move on. So Dr. Pope, what's next?
That's a great question. And that's what's nice about vet med is it's pretty open. So do you work with industry? Do you stay in a clinic? Do you do relief? So for me, I'd like to take a step back from the exam rooms. There are plenty of clients I'm going to miss. There are plenty of clients I'm not going to miss. So I'd like to take a step back from the clinic and more business to business. Can I work with a drug company and kind of go into more clinics and kind of say like, hey, this product, this is a great product, and let's focus on how you can use it as a business. And let's not just talk just the medicine and how it's an amazing product medicine wise. Let's also talk, okay, how can we sell it? How are you going to get the client to buy it? Because so many times they just come in, hey, this product's amazing. Here's what it costs. Best of luck. Well, let's talk about it more from the business owner side, because at the end of the day, it's a business, and vets, even though we don't like it, we're salespeople. So we're selling stuff. So it'd be nice to be more business to business, professional wise. So we'll see what shakes out.
So if you're like Dr. Pope and you're considering a career in industry, working for a drug company or a diagnostic company, check out, there's a couple of resources you can check out. So the American Association of Industry Veterinarians, so AAIV, as well as animalhealthjobs.com. And Dr. Pope, how do you develop a relationship with a salesperson, right? I have supported a lot of sales teams. I actually come from industry, and it seemed like invariably the veterinarians were like, no, I don't want to talk to a salesperson. So how do you develop that relationship with a salesperson?
You know what? I never understood that. I never understood when a rep told me, "Oh yeah, that vet, they won't see me. I haven't been past the front doors." That blows my mind because for me, like, get to know your reps are your best friends. Now there are so many great reps, and then there are so many just one of the reps that used to see us, we'd always call him just kind of the used car salesman of vet med. I mean, yeah, I could take him or leave him, but one of my reps just, I mean, he would bend over backwards for you, and even if he didn't order from his company that he worked with, he would still bend over backwards for you. So for me, it's yes, they're there to sell their products. Yes, they're there to kind of replace this company's products or whatever, or try to get their products in on your shelf. But for me, it's talk to them. They come in, at least try to set up with them. Hey, look, you always come in at the busy time. How about you come in at this time? Or can you call? Let's set up an appointment. But it's tough business wise because, hey, if I block off for X company to come in 10 to 10:30, that's a, $400 slot, $500 slot that I just spent on a rep. But for me, that's an investment that you get back. If it's a rep that you end up building a relationship with, then it gets to the point for me, I was comfortable. Hey, I'm doing a spay. Oh, so-and-so's here. All right, send them back. They can stand outside the suite and I'll finish my spay. Hey, what's going on? How the kids? The kids great, good. What products you got? And they were brought back and talked to because, hey, I am so busy, but now I know them well enough that, yeah, you can come back. Let's figure out what's going on. Hey, okay, we have this issue, and I can talk to them in between rooms. So for me, even as an associate, talk to the reps.
Yeah. So as a veterinarian who tried to talk to all those clinics, because I was technical and professional services and support, really what I would advise is, like Dr. Pope said, get to know your reps, talk to them for a couple of minutes at least, understand what resources they can bring. If nothing else, they help you network. Just know that if you have a problem with a product or you really want to even do a case consultation, there are so many veterinarians that are a part of these companies that really are looking forward to talking to you and really do want to help you. So just they're like overgrown, big, happy golden retriever puppies. And I always say to folks, if you don't really want to deal with a sales rep, just think of them as a golden retriever puppy. And occasionally they needed to be swatted on the nose with a newspaper.
And there were so many times too, like even with the new associate, she would ask me about a product. Hey, this drug company's product this, and we'd have questions. What about this case? And I would just tell her, call the company. They have vets that are literally sitting there waiting to talk to you. And you could tell a lot of times with the vets because they're like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Okay, let's go through this case. Oh, and then because they're waiting to talk to you. Now, yes, if you're busy and stuff, you maybe have to plan it or something, but call the call the companies, call the vets. They will happily talk to you and send you research papers and all kind of stuff on it.
So I understand, Dr. Pope, you're really considering a career in working for pharma or industry, animal health. So what have you been doing to kind of work on your career or get yourself in a position where what's your experience been looking for a job in industry?
So again, network. I feel this world goes around by who you know. So talk to people. Hey, do you know of anything? Do you know of anybody hiring? Do you know of anybody looking? And even if it's somebody, there was a company I walked by at a conference, and just before I left, I'd asked, do y'all have any vets on staff? Oh, actually, no, we were kind of interested in that. Would you be interested? Yeah, let's set that up. So just because you can't just sit on Indeed and type in vet and just wait for the inevitable one to pop up. Yeah, sometimes you might be able to create a position where there wasn't a position, be able to go in. And I think that's kind of where I struggle. I'm not good at selling myself. Like, I talk myself down, even with this podcast. Who's going to want to listen to me? Like, I mean, what do I have to say that, anybody's going to be like, man, that was so great that he said that. So it's really tough to sell ourselves, but I mean, you made it. If you made it through vet school and you passed boards, you should be proud of yourself. I mean, you're going to make mistakes and you're not the smartest person in the world, but you passed boards and you survived vet school. That's something to speak of. And you've treated patients, you've dealt with clients, you've been in there, you've dealt with drugs, you've dealt with tough situations. Use all that to sell yourself and not just be, well, I don't really know. I'm a vet. I don't know what else I can bring to you guys. We need to, don't be arrogant, but you need to be a little bit more confident. And that's kind of where I struggle. Like, why would you want me to work with you? Oh, man, I know I was a business owner. I mean, I built up a clinic in over a decade, or about a decade, 9 years, and then I sold it. That's something. Not everybody can say that. So
You should be very proud of that fact that you've built a clinic and sold a clinic and now exploring the next phase of your life. And so, uh, offering my services, if anybody wants a consultative call or wants to have a conversation about how to enter industry, they're always welcome to reach out to me, and we'll pop in my email address here at the bottom. But if you're looking to become an industry veterinarian, check out animalhealthjobs.com, Bracky Consulting, as well as the American Association of Industry Veterinarians. Just know, Dr. Pope takes a long time to get that job. For better or for worse, there's consolidation going on in the drug and diagnostic companies. And so I think my first industry job actually took me a whole entire year to get. And so, like you said, just networking, talking to those sales teams, know that there's a lot of diverse jobs out there. There's technical service and pharmacovigilance, where you help sort through adverse reactions. There's all kinds of business jobs to get involved with, and then professional services. So just as you said, great opportunities for somebody with your experience to mentor and coach other veterinary practice owners and help them do better in their practice. Well, Dr. Pope, as we're finishing up our time together here, what advice would you have for somebody wanting to own a practice?
so just be ready. Be ready for the hard work and the stress. But it is very rewarding to have something that's your own, that you grow and you cultivate, and that first client that you hear, oh, well, Miss Jones told me about you and I drove 30 minutes and nobody can figure out what's wrong with Fluffy. And she just said, you were just so amazing. I had to drive up here and see you. And they told me that this was your clinic and you ran things great. I'm here to see you. And that is, that's, that's rewarding. The reviews are always good, but just to have that client say that. So it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of stress and it's a lot of decisions that maybe you never really thought you had to make before. It's almost like building a house. What kind of doorknobs do you want? Well, I never thought about what kind of doorknobs I need. Okay, well, when you're running a clinic, hey, what kind of policy do you want for this? Oh gosh, I never thought about that. So you got to be ready to be quick on your feet, and you got to be confident with decisions. But if you want to take control of it and run it how you want to run it and take care of the clients the way you want to take care of, and you're ready for the hard work and the time, then I think it's great. And business wise too, it's not impossible, but it's difficult for vets to fail. If you go to an area that doesn't have 10 vets on every corner, you're smart enough for what can the location handle as far as finances and stuff, and you price it right, it's pretty difficult for a vet to fail. So as long as you're willing to do the work, you'll succeed.
So for all of our listeners out there, if you're looking for resources, you're an owner and you're looking to recruit, check out iveterinarians.org. I offered, if you don't find value in your membership, we'll refund your money. Don't tell Pam I said so. If you're a veterinarian who's maybe transitioning, you've sold, you've exited, you're in that spot between your past life as a practice owner and your new life in veterinary medicine, check out all the resources out there, like the American Association of Industry Veterinarians, animalhealthjobs.com, and we're going to put my contact information so you can learn more about what it means to be a veterinarian who works for industry. So Dr. Pope, thank you ever so much for your time today. I'm so glad you took the time to share your story with our colleagues in veterinary medicine, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it.